Good evening, Mr. Toscano, President Massengale, and members of the board. It is my honor to come before you this evening and present a few of our amazing students from Highland Forest Elementary. First, I wanted you all to see one of our exceptional first grade classrooms. This is Miss Olivari's class, and they have a special message to share with you. Go!
Thank you, school, board, members, and Mr. Toscano for everything you do. Have a great day!
We appreciate all of you, and next we will have Miss Tonsel and Lydia Gonzalez and Alora Hernandez perform for you all. We hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Bye.
Good evening, everyone. Please stand for the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and one indivisible.
Please bow your heads for a moment of prayer.
Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for our family, teachers, and friends, and for everyone joining us tonight.
Thank you for being faithful and helping us begin and navigate this new school year.
We ask for wisdom to continue walking in love, peace, and unity in all that we do.
We especially ask you to keep us all healthy and safe.
Give us the strength and grace to do more than just get through the school year.
Give us the strength and grace to have a successful school year as we strive to grow individually and as a family.
In Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, beautiful voices, just dance forever, waves of grace. O'er purple mountain majesties, o'er all the fruited day. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and proud thy good brother, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes who in liberating strive, who for themselves their countrymen and mercy for their life. America, America, break out thy glory high, till all extends below us, and every day divine. Oh, beautiful for patriotic dreams that see beyond the years. Thy alabaster citizen, until thy human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to
Now it'll be a 4.5 ton, even though it's still a 5 ton, and now take 4 hours to cool instead of 3 hours to cool. So that's how they determine what the savings is. So they brought all our units back up to the highest optimal performance, so they can cool, be more efficient, and level it work, which is perfect this time with the pandemic. That would work out perfectly. And this is why we're here today. So this year, the demand response was rather challenging, rather scary, because it started in March when the pandemic started. We shut everything down. As you can see, we're contracted 805 field lines. That's what we're committed to. But as you can see, the first 5 events we couldn't reach that, because we had everything basically shut down. Not shut down, but set back. So that was not good. So I got with Linda, and during the team cleaning, we did a little strategizing. CPS probably didn't do it, but that's okay. All the equipment for team cleanup, so I think we should get those clean. The hot part of the summer is when they're going to do more events. So we had more equipment running, which we could prove they were actually checking load and they're going to call. We were able to set things back, make a little ball staff there. So this is how we were able to rebound, and we averaged 921 kilowatt savings. And we actually were able to reach 140. And we actually were able to
YouTube
over the contractor.
It's the Facebook.
Actually, 64,683, but I believe I was wrong. It's actually 64,500.
The patient still.
So we did well overall. Rob, you'll have to say, I'm not going to go to the slide.
Yes.
Lastly, since we started the program, keep in mind this is at no cost of this program. This is just shedding load for hydrogen and making sure everyone's aware, everybody understands what's going on. It doesn't really affect anybody. Since 2014 to current, the district has saved 380 kilowatt hours, and we received $367,347 and no cost. That's a lot of salary that this is paid with no cost. Overall, I think I'm proud. This doesn't happen by myself. It takes me, it takes Liz, it takes school district. Everybody has to be involved, everybody has to be on the same page. Thanks to the whole district, thanks to everybody who helps with this. Rob?
Sure. Probably honest to see it, board. Programs like this doesn't happen, you know.
The arrow was on
We
mute.
really
I
appreciate
don't know why.
the district participation in the programs. Not only helps the district, as Leo has
Switch to
camera feed,
we're on camera.
but it helps the community as a whole. Okay, we always depend because there's a strain on the grid. Okay, and power, the whole ball of that. So it's not only helping the city and district, it's also helping other cities. Okay? So, on behalf of CBS Energy, we'd like to thank you for your continued participation. As we know, this year was, and still is, difficult, and it's forced us to pivot and change the way we live our lives. And we were not sure how the schools were going to be able to perform this year. So we were very worried about that, and very grateful. We're here, the staff worried about that, and very grateful.
It's working now on Facebook.
just come out and do the work that allows you to, we can, and
Safety, what,
potential that we should say, based on the consideration and are we allowed to take a picture of this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're all part of this.
You did that.
You did that. Big boy. Thank you. Board members, thank you so much.
All right, Mr. President, trustees also this evening is with Chief Janowski, who's going to provide us with the oath of office for the newly commissioned officers who will assist us in our department. So Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Toscano, board president, board members, appreciate the chance to be up here. Today's a special day for us. We're gonna swear in and pin a new officer to the Central Police Department. Her name is Esmeralda Sendejas. Can you come up here, please? And, she has a grandmother with her. That's gonna do the honor to take her badge. Give you a little history on, Esme, as we call her. She's been with our police department, the president, Bowie, been with us 5 years as our civilian police service agent. She's the first one that answers the phone when we get calls to TV, does the host forms, does a bunch of the clerical work, some of our surveys, and some other duties that we have assigned. One of her main goals was to become a police officer. So through her dedication and her strive to meet that goal, she went to the San Antonio College Police Academy at night. So she came to work all day, did her 9 hours, and then did another 6 hours at the academy, Monday through Friday, and some Saturdays we were home. So that was for 9 months. And she graduated in May. The last 2 months were the hardest one because of the epidemic that we dealt with. But we're very proud of her, and she went and fulfilled her goal as a police officer. So today we're going to commission her as an essential police officer part-time, which that entails that she's going to supplement any extracurricular activities that we might have in the district, football games, basketball games, after her 6 to 9 month intensive field training. So she still has a way to go before she's out on her own. So we're very proud of her, and another addition to our essential police family, and I'm honored to have her. Also, I have a very special guest that's going to do the honors of giving the oath of office. We have the Honorable Judge Lopez, precinct number 4. I'm sure a lot of folks know Judge Lopez, who was here last time.
Good evening, board members. Congratulations. You raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Esmeralda Sendejas, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of office of peace officer for the East Central Independent School District Police Department, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
and the state of Texas.
and the state of Texas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Before I hand over the badge, I would like to recognize another special guest, Teresa Ramon, who is our chief of police at Justin School District, and who is Destiny's mom. I'd like to invite her to stand over here next to her daughter, please. Like mom, like daughter, right? Father footsteps. Destiny, you want to help me grandma?
Sam, can I get the camera? One, two, three. One, two, three.
There you go.
Not good. Thank y'all.
I'd like to recognize the judge. We appreciate you being here for this, Judge, but we also, more importantly, appreciate the initiative that you partnered with us on school truancy, trying to keep our kids and our parents out of jail for having truancy issues. You've been a wonderful partner to the district, and you kept our kids in the classroom, so we appreciate that very much. It's nice to see you here this evening.
Thank you.
And lastly, Mr. President, we have 3 trustees who will be taking the oath of office this evening.
Who might that be?
That might be Victor Garza from District 4, Ms. Claudia Barrientos from District 6, and Mr. John Massengale representing District 3.
You have to stand where you want, raise your right hand. And please, state what I say, okay, except your name. All right. I state your name.
I,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of Board of Trustee
the duties of the office of Board of Trustees
for East Central ISD
for Central ISD
of the state of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will do the best of my ability
and will do the best of my ability
to preserve, protect, and defend
to preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All you gotta do is get out of this smile.
said, we'll take a short recess and reconvene about 7:10. All right, we'll get this started back a little early. Move on to item 4, public comment. Ms. Costa, do we have any public comment?
No, sir, no public comments.
All right, that takes care of that. Move on to item 5, superintendent's report. Mr. Scott, item 8. 2021 district external scoreboard quarter 1 update. Updated.
Yes, sir. Trustees, in your electronic package, you'll see our district's first iteration of our district's external scorecard on page 16. And in your miscellaneous packet, Dr. Fuller put together a summary that kind of accompanies the external scorecard. And this time I'd like for Dr. Fuller to come on up and give the board a little overview of kind of what we're updating the board on this evening.
Good evening. Where did you see that? Hold on. All right, well, good evening, Mr. Massengill, Mr. Toscano, and board members. So as Mr. Toscano shared, this is our first iteration. We just wrapped up this morning. Sam, do I come to one? We just wrapped up our quarter 1 meetings with each campus principal. And during those quarter 1 meetings, we talked about our internal and external scorecards. And so in your board package, I was gonna put it up here for you, so I apologize. Thank you. So this is our first iteration of our external scorecard. As we shared in the past, when we were developing this, our external scorecard is built around our community-based accountability system. And so on the left-hand side, you'll see all of our key questions that were developed that we as a district are working to answer for our communities. And so each one of those, as we go down, aligns to our priority areas for East Central. Everything in the yellow, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 all align in priority 1, which is teaching and learning. The blue, which is 5, aligns to quality staff. And then the red, which is 6, aligns to our key partnerships. And then 7, which is green, aligns to our fiscal and operational responsibilities. And so each one of these, at the top, you can see our key questions. And at the top, you can see all of our campuses and then our departments went through and signaled where they are in their work for quarter 1. So for example, you can see that Harmony on 1.1, they gave themselves an A. If you go down at the bottom, on the left-hand side here, you can see that this is where our key is. So an A means that they're making some adjustments. They're doing the work, but as they've been doing the work, they need to make some slight adjustments on what they're doing. So you can go across and see, if you follow it down, you can see all of, like this column here, all of what Harmony has signaled on the work that they did for quarter 1 for each key question. And then if you follow, you can see that Highland Forest, Oak Crest, and each campus went through to signal where they are in relationship to the work that they did in quarter 1 for each key question for the community-based accountability system. So then what we did is, I wanted to kind of share that based on our quarter meetings, for example, I picked 2 samples of what the principal shared to us to give you kind of an indication of the work they've done and how it goes back to their campus work that they have been engaged in throughout the first 9 weeks. So tradition focused on underneath quality staff. They focused on the degree to which staff members exemplify the profile of an EC learning leader and the training and development of their leadership. And so that's something that here Ms. Kopek from Tradition talked about as a focus that she worked on for this first quarter with her team. And so some of the things that they did she shared with us the strategies that they worked on with their leadership team. They worked on their roles and responsibilities within their leadership team. She talked about their instructional leadership team and made individual goals and action steps to help them reach their individual goals so that they could actualize the roles and responsibilities that they had set forth for each other. For each week that they meet together, there's a standing agenda item where they review the roles and responsibilities and discuss their progress on their individual goals so that they make sure that they're hitting the mark. And then this all correlates to their campus improvement plan. In their campus improvement plan, they said that they would have key performance indicators for each of their leadership team members, and that's what they're tracking and following. So that just kind of gives you an idea of when you look at the external scorecard, everything, how it goes back, it ties back to their improvement plan. So what they're working on, each has strategies and goals, and then the work that ties into what they're actually focusing on. The same thing for Harmony. We picked another one, Harmony. Harmony's just really wanted to work on student voice. And we know that with COVID-19, students, some are face-to-face, some of them are remote. So they really wanted to make sure that all students have a voice and choice, and that they're intentionally soliciting that information from them. And so what they talked about is they're going to be doing a survey for students, and they want to set up clubs and more like groups for them to engage in so that students feel connected to the school and are able to engage in things that are of their interest. And so they talked about how they set up that idea, and then they're going to be participating and giving that survey for students so they can start setting these clubs up. Then in your handout, as Mr. Toscano said, you have this in your folder. And what we did was, based on the external scorecard, each of the campus principals and their teams lifted up 2 to 3 big ideas. Like, so when you look at all of this information, what are the things that they noticed that really bubbled up as those important 1 to 2 to 3 big ideas that they either are celebrating or they noticed from first quarter 1 and they really need to work on for quarter 2 and make some adjustments. And so if you go across like Harmony, you can look at under number 1, number 2, and number 3, they have 3 things listed. That first thing is that student voice and really wanting to get a survey to make sure that they have clubs and organizations and activities that students are engaged in. And that's what I gave you the example of. And so we wanted to provide this to you because there's a lot of information on the scorecard, but we really wanted to hear from the principals and their leadership teams. So based on all this, what really bubbled up is those big things that you're either celebrating or are really driving your work for then quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 based on what we noticed. And so that's here for you in the next couple pages. It includes the campuses as well as department information. Any questions? Anything I want to add?
So the orange, it pretty much that took 18 months to go the major change.
So that's something, Claudia, that's such a great point. So I apologize for not talking about that. If it's light blue, that's something that they're maintaining. It's something that they've already started or something that they are not attending to quite yet. They're just going to maintain where they currently are. Dark blue, they're maintaining, but they might be considering a change sometime, either this quarter or sometime in the near future. If it's green, it's a minor change. If it's orange, they've made a major change. It's a big focus. It's made a new initiative, a new strategy, a new program, something that they've decided that they're really going to put something new in place for this year.
What would be an example of the letter for crisis? What is that entail?
So, I can talk about it, pardon. Sure. Okay, so in curriculum and instruction, I met with my Sun Department people, and one of the things that we talked about was there was one seat, and that was because of COVID-19, we haven't been able to have some of our students that to come to school, and we're working on, like, if they're working on an industry certification or working on something that is hands-on, and we're maybe having trouble, either the organization or business that they're working on is not allowing students to come, like healthcare industry or something like that, or parents may not be allowing them. And so for us, we talked about that maybe being a crisis that first 9 weeks, because we're trying to get the students the experience that they need, but because of either the industry not allowing them or parents or some situation, that's causing us some extra barriers that we're trying to work through to make sure students get what they need. So that might be an example.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna move on to, we're gonna switch B and C. We're gonna move on to C, item C, Go Public Update. Mr. Scott?
Yes, sir. So trustees, I'm happy to introduce Lisa Jackson, who is the executive director for the Go Public campaign. You're all very familiar with the campaign and the work that Go Public has done, unifying the school districts in the San Antonio area in recent years. But we're very excited that in the last few years, we've been able to bring Lisa on board and have her kind of lead the work and operationalize it and make sure that it's sustainable and impactful. And so we asked her to come today and provide the board an update on what Go Public's been up to. And so, welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Toscano, Mr. Massengale, and the board. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm excited to share with you just a quick overview of what we did last year. And specifically, you can see some examples for East Central, and then also a quick overview of what's ahead. So you all should have also too a handout recapping the value of Go Public for East Central. So, and like I said, as we look at the year ahead, it'll be much more like a high level overview, and I'm excited about what we have planned. So, Go Public is now in its 7th year, and I have been serving as the executive director for 4 years now, and we have evolved quite a bit, but we continue to promote the great things happening in public schools and in the school districts. And with the changing landscape, with education becoming more and more competitive, we still are maintaining a very strong presence, enough so that a sister campaign has also popped up in the Houston Gulf Coast area, which I also oversee, and I'll touch on that in a minute. Last year, traditional and social media, of course, that's one of the great ways to tell your story, and I have to commend East Central and Brendan and the communications team and everyone. Your stories and what's happening on social media is so exciting, as well as the website, so it's been really great to be able to share what's happening here. We also work with the media partners. Last year, we had a terrific initiative with WOAI Channel 4 and David Chancellor. Every Monday evening at 6:30, he would do a feature called Go Public with David Chancellor. And he's a terrific storyteller, and he really captures some great insights as he tells some of the stories around San Antonio. So I have this one.
So every single Monday right here on the evening break, David Chancellor goes looking for the best stories out there from area public schools. And tonight, it's the story of how students at the East Central ISD can eventually become teachers. In fact, in many ways, they're proving they already are.
Turning over some expository language. So, you know what that is? No? Yes, no? Have you ever heard it?
From the outside looking in, this is your average 4th grade classroom at Tradition Elementary.
What about this guy? Yes, better?
The usual sights and sounds.
So that's a recipe, because you're telling me something about food.
From a teacher that is actually a student. Wait, what?
So, You know my expectations, right?
Citlali Pena is a senior at East Central High School who spends 2 hours every day as a teacher in training. It's part of the district's teacher prep program, and the results speak for themselves.
I was just amazed. She took one concept, I just told her about it, and she created that whole lesson.
Katie Moyers knows the drill. She's the actual teacher of the classroom, but like Citlali, she took part in the program when she went to East Central.
It kind of gave us a feel for what it was going to be like in the classroom, what the teachers get to do, their lesson planning, and then preparing a lesson, and just interacting with children.
We have amazing teachers at East Central. My students being in their classroom, they learn so much from the crop writing teacher, and the crop writing teacher learns so much from them.
Why don't you write about a time where you had a happy feeling, a happy moment?
Here's how it works. Students like Citlali spend their freshman and sophomore years learning the basics of education. By their junior and senior years, they get hands-on experience, including how much prep it takes on a daily basis to do the job.
I really don't consider it homework, just because I actually look forward to doing it. It's more of making like lessons or anything my teacher needs me to do. I'll just go ahead and do that. It's just those little things, and I consider them little because I enjoy them.
We think you can get up and make it.
You can't do that. You would like to think you can, but it's hard. And when you have 19 eyes watching you, you have to be prepared.
Honestly, it's pretty nerve-wracking because I feel like they have way more judgmental skills than an average adult. But also I just remember that they're kids and they're also where I used to be and how I would feel when I was their age, and it kind of just relaxes me a bit. It just gives me a feeling of almost being at home.
Home is where Citlali discovered her love for education. By age 10, she was teaching her father English and math, and in the process, building both a skill and a relationship.
I don't know if he actually needed it or just wanted me to help him, but so we write sentences together and even just draw numbers, and I would just explain what I had learned in class, and he would take that and grasp it himself.
Citlali has been schooled in what it takes to become a teacher, the time to prepare, the patience she will need, but her biggest lesson is something that goes well beyond the classroom.
Being yourself, because that's what they appreciate. They know the difference when you're having a bad day and they're having a good day. Everything's going to happen. It's going to be all natural. Whatever is happening will happen. So just relax.
The district takes pride in, as they say, grooming and growing teachers that will then later go back to East Central ISD. And one hope is that someday, students who complete the program and then earn a college degree have a job within the district waiting for them. Be sure to check out the best stories from area public schools every Monday night here on the Evening Break. You can follow Go Public on social media at WeGoPublic. I'm David Chancellor, News 4 San Antonio 61.
So, I mean, it just speaks for itself. I don't need to say anything after that, except for that it is amazing to see, you know, sort of the flow and the generational connection. And so that's what David does so well, is tell those heartwarming stories. So what a great story that he did. We are hoping that we can pick that up again after this next year. But what happens then is he tells that story, it goes on the air, and then it continues on his Facebook page, where we see absolutely incredible engagement. So he has quite a following and a fan base, and once he posts those stories, they all engage. So it's really been wonderful. There we go. This one, don't let the first screenshot alarm you. This is from another initiative that we did with CW and Fox. So this was their Thursday Night Lights initiative. And what we decided to do for this, we took a little bit of creative thinking, but we decided to work with them and do a teacher spotlight during the game. So this is your teacher spotlight.
Hey, it's time for our teacher spotlight. Talk about what these coaches do. From East Central is the health science technology teacher. You can see that over the last 2 years, she's had 80 students become certified as nurse assistants. She's a passionate teacher, inspires, got great enthusiasm, and she's dedicated to excellence there in the East Central District, doing it in her own high school where she graduated. And she's staying home to serve her community with pride and integrity. So, congratulations, Wendy Waddell, our Go Public Teacher Spotlight of the game.
All right, so yeah, really fun to see that and have it in the
She had great teachers.
She did, she really did.
Is this Poland?
Great mom.
Oh, I get it now. It's so different. I get it. Oh my goodness, that is so fun. Okay, we should have included you in it.
No.
Okay, so let's see. This right here, this is an example. I just want to point this out. So as everything turned around in April, we used our media partners to do our digital banners around, their platforms, really highlighting the resources that all of you had. And so Go Public actually we created our own one page that directed everyone to each district page on COVID-19 and what was happening. So this was a promotion of those resources. We pivoted, very fast pivot. I know, I really try not to use that word because everyone does, but we moved so quickly on that, and it was really great because we have those relationships with those media partners. So that was really good. And again, social media always is just a really great place to continue to spotlight. And like I said, it's been an absolute joy going to your social media channels and pulling great photos and great stories like this that we can either share or we put in a compilation. So as a former drill team officer in high school, I always love seeing what the drill team does, and to see all of them masked up and still performing is really incredible. This right here is also another really great example of how we worked with everyone. It was a coordinated effort, and being who we are here in San Antonio, everyone working together, sharing resources with the communications people. This came from Medina Valley, and they had discovered a quick resource that everyone immediately grabbed onto and then shared it everywhere. So this was all because we were all sort of connected together under Go Public. This is an example of all these very vivid, vibrant, fun images are a part of our new Instagram channel. So we launched Instagram in May, and very organically, very methodically, we now have over 1,100 followers, and they're engaging with what we're doing. So that's very exciting. This right here is, we really had a wonderful extension of our radio media opportunities. And so we normally do every year Texas Public Radio. This year we expanded into 2 stations and worked with them on having their talent give their own personal testimonial about public schools. And I have an example, I think it should load here. No, it didn't, okay. But anyway, they would do their own testimonial about their experience going to public school, and here they are now, and they're DJs, and it was a very successful campaign. This one right here is, we also went and worked with Univision to help connect with our Spanish-speaking population, and Kayla Calderon Lugo is the communications PIO for Edgewood ISD, and she lent her expertise and connections. She used to be a former anchor with Univision, and she served as a spokesperson and recorded many 15-second spots that would direct people to Go Public. So as we look at 2020, 2021, we are pulling back just a little bit on those media buys, and we're focusing much more on a grassroots, on the ground and online strategy for a few reasons. One of the reasons is that our Go Public Gulf Coast sister campaign also has been running now for 2 years. And the idea is that there's a lot of power in numbers. So keeping the campaigns separate locally, but bringing them together online on the website will make us even a stronger force online. There's a lot of data and algorithms and things like that that go on behind the scenes, but this is in process right now. We're actually overhauling the website, migrating all the content, and building a bigger and better wegopublic.com that will now have 40 school districts on it. So that greater online presence really affords us the opportunity to drive to capture traffic, parents who are looking for information about their neighborhood public school, driving them to us and then back to you. We do that through Google Ads, banner ads, social media, and so forth. So when we have all of that, this gets kind of a little bit technical, but really I just wanted to hit the high points that will have a higher ranking. So when you are searching on Google and you're looking for, best barbecue, in my area, those barbecue restaurants that hit those first 10 links are where you're gonna probably go. That's what we're always shooting for. We want to get on that top page so that we can take that traffic and drive it back to you. And so content, becoming a trusted source, having landing pages, and then using Google and search keywords to direct traffic. So this will enable us to eventually scale potentially statewide online, which could be really exciting. We also have value. Our website now has value because of the traffic that it's getting, which could enable us to have sponsorships. And all that data up there is just looking at 5 or 6 pages, and the value of all of those pages combined is about $5,000. So we're taking every dollar and actually now starting to make value off of those dollars. This is an example of a Google ad. This very popular search is schools near me, and our school district finder grabs a lot of those searches and drives them to the San Antonio area. And the other part of our grassroots effort is supporting and teaming up with Rooted, which is a volunteer parent group, and they actually are advocates for their neighborhood public schools. So right now we're in the process of signing up new Rooted reps for all the school districts and then training them. And this will enable us to have some boots on the ground in a way who are telling their story. So we'll work online and on the ground and a little bit of media where we can. And so we also look at our community and business partners. We have presence in 7 YMCAs and our membership with the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. I'm looking at other ways where I can present, doing lunch and learns and things like that about the value of our public schools here in San Antonio. And then we have our grassroots campus. I'm currently working on a new design for banners for all of the schools so that they will all receive a new fresh banner. And that will also continue to brand Go Public in San Antonio. And that's it. Thank you all so much. Do you have any questions? Thank you all. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna change up the agenda a little bit and go ahead and move into the action agenda, item C, 2019-2020 school district. Mr. Scott?
Sir Trustees, per board policy CFC, the board shall have the district's fiscal accounts audited annually by a certified public accountant and shall file a copy of said audit with the Texas Education Agency. 2019-2020 fiscal audit has been completed by Coleman Horton and Company LLP, and Derek, the representative, is prepared to present a report to the board for your consideration this evening. The total of the complete report is on page 31 in your electronic packet and runs through page 127. Derek?
Good evening, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, Mr. Governor. Thank y'all for having me tonight. I had y'all down for a short and sweet presentation. Has that changed? Or keep it like that? All right, perfect. It's really easy to keep it like that. Your district, we didn't have any kind of findings, issues with your district. So our firm's going to issue unmodified or clean audit opinions on all 3 of our opinion letters in this audit report. We do 1 audit based on your financial statements and determine whether they present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the district as of August 31st. There's another audit opinion that the district receives federal funds. We do an audit on internal controls and compliance. That was also an unmodified between 110. And if you receive over 750 in federal funds, we're supposed to do an audit on your major federal programs. That was also a clean or unmodified fee. So, with that said, real quick, we'll go over a couple pages. I have your new page number. Go over some fund balance numbers. If you turn to page 50, I believe that's on y'all's. So page 50 is, in essence, the district's income statement for the year. What it does, I like to kind of go over this because it gives you the net change in your fund balance for the year. And that first column represents your general fund. That's your main operating account. And everyone, you want to see an increase in fund balance, but that's not always the case. Sometimes a district will spend money.
Just saying, that's page 82 in your electronic package.
Is it 82?
Yeah, that's in our package, it's 82 in the document, it's 50.
Okay. So yes, 82, it should say exhibit C3 out to the, on the very top, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to give it the lady that gave me the account number.
Well, it says that right here. You want me to bring this up here?
What's that?
You want me to bring my computer?
No, I'm fine. I'm just gonna go over two schedules.
Okay.
I think we can get through this too.
Go ahead.
All right, perfect. So on this schedule, like I said, this is your income statement. That first column, your general fund. Three items or three lines from the bottom. You can see the net change in fund balance during the year was $4,989,122. That left the district with an ending fund balance of $25,912,334 for your general fund. Debt service fund was a major fund, so we present that separately on the statement. Same three lines from the bottom, that increased 1.1 million during the year. Leaving your debt service fund with an ending fund balance of 7.2 million. Some of these funds don't meet the category of being classified as major, so we lump them all in one column. So in this other fund column, this includes like your Title I, your child nutrition program. I believe y'all had some remnants of some capital project funds. So they all get lumped together right there. Same deal at the bottom, the net change, it decreased 1.3 million during the year. Leaving those funds with an ending fund balance of 1.6 million. So overall, for the district far right column, total change in fund balance for the district this year was $4,787,189, leaving the district an ending fund balance of $34,768,143. Yeah, every district in the state of Texas had a challenging year with this COVID stuff going on. So, they were able to adjust and on balance and go forward. So, the last schedule I want to go over is your budgetary fund balance. Scott, can you help me on this one? It's page 53 in my audit report, and it's exhibit G1. Should be.
It'll be 86 in our electronic.
Real quick, this is your general fund budget comparison for the year. What this schedule presents is your original budget, which is normally done before the start of the year. And the second column shows your final budgeted amounts. And then finally, third column shows your actual amounts for the year. So what this schedule that actually does, it shows you kind of where you've had budget efficiencies, or where more money came in as far as revenue wise. So 4 lines from the bottom, your total revenues. Look at that far right column. Total revenues were 2.1 million, 2127,390 more than was anticipated. And as you can see, there was some more local revenue, which is probably your property taxes that fall within that parcel line item. And then your state aid, which is your foundation and your available school would fall in the second line, the $1.5 million increase in state funds. Similar for your expenditures, if you go about 3/4 of the way down, far right column, total expenditures were $6,914,413, less than what was anticipated. And once again, you can kind of scan that. You've got instruction, had 2.5 less than what was anticipated. Student pupil transportation was 1.4 million less than what was anticipated. And a lot of that has, COVID related. Y'all aren't running buses for 3 months. So. Other than that, my experience has been one the district's doing good, and yes, the district is in our eyes, and then also the fund balances. But I'd be happy to touch on anything else, or is there any other questions?
Anybody got any questions? Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Y'all be safe and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That's good.
Mr. President, I recommend that the 2019-2020 audit of the district's fiscal accounts be approved by the board as prepared and presented by Coleman Horton and Company LLP as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the audit of the district's fiscal account be approved by the board as prepared and presented by Coleman Horton and Company LLP. Do I have a motion? We have a motion by Victor Garza. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Claudia Barrientos. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move back to superintendent's report now. Item B, teacher incentive allotment, TIA overview. Mr. Scott.
Your trustees, we've talked briefly in the past about this entitlement that was passed as part of House Bill 3. The Texas Education Agency has some funds available for districts to consider adopting a teacher incentive allotment, which would potentially provide some additional salary dollars to individual teachers qualifying for the program that is created by, but ultimately approved by the Texas Education Agency. The program has 3 main goals, and that's to attract effective teachers to the profession. It's also to keep effective teachers in the classroom. It is not uncommon for teachers in an effort to have upward mobility and greater earning potential move out of the classroom and into administration. So that's one of the goals of the program is to keep them in the classroom and enable them to make significant salary increases over the years. And then thirdly, incentivize teachers who are the most effective to take on the most challenging assignments. And so with that, we as a district are exploring such a program. And so we've got Yvette Sanders and Darlene Gorham here with us tonight. They're leading our work in this area, and I wanted them to provide an overview to the board about the program and kind of what our steps are that we're currently taking and what our timelines are going forward.
Well, good evening. It's my pleasure to be back in the same room with you guys. I've missed seeing you. As Mr. Toscano said, the 3 goals of TIA are, of course, to attract effective teachers. We want to increase the number of graduates coming out to explore education as a profession. And so
Attracting effective teachers is one of those goals. Keeping them in the classroom is another. We know that between 2 and 5 years of experience, we tend to have a lot of drop off. So by increasing or adding incentive pay, we hope to be able to, or it's actually TA, we hope to be able to keep effective teachers in the classroom. And then by adding incentives to the college campuses, there's the encouragement to go to those campuses. So just a couple of key points within the district allotment. The districts are allowed to choose to participate. It's not a requirement, but we do know that in order to recruit and retain highly effective teachers and to remain marketable within the job force, we definitely want to partake within this system. And so once we create our designation system, we do put an application out that approved, and we will be able to then to designate our teachers as master, exemplary, or recognized status. With that, we will receive additional funding for within the range of $3,000 to $32,000 per year for each teacher, and that will be in addition to the pay that's assigned for the district. Districts will receive greater funding for those teachers who work on rural campuses, according to their definition, and for high-needs campuses. And so we do know that within East Central, none of our campuses are considered to be rural. Most of that has to do with the overall district population. It's like the criteria is 5,000 and below, in addition to some other criteria. And then those high-needs campuses are based on the low socioeconomic status. And it is by campus, it is not by district. So each campus will be looked at individually. When those funds are received, at least 90% of those funds have to be used for teacher compensation, and they have to be used on the campus where the designated teacher works. And so part of the spending plan that we have to be devised will include that, and we'll have to decide what to do with the other 10%, which can be used in support of a TIA. And we have some variations and options within that. And so this is a partnership between TEA and Texas Tech. When we do put our application in, it's reviewed by them in partnership, and they're the ones who have the final say in the approval of those organizations. Currently, there's only one cohort, cohort A, that's gone through, and the approval rating is pretty rigorous. The process is rigorous, and there was less than half of those who applied that actually were approved to be included within that. So we definitely are taking it very seriously, and we are going to be one of the latter cohorts, so we have time to make sure that we have our system in place before we apply. So as part of this, we do have 3 steps for teacher designation, and they are, as you see, recognized, exemplary, and master. There is the range below each of those, recognized being 3 to 9,000, 6 to 18,000 for exemplary, and 12 to 32 for master teacher. And within those ranges, the formula they created is in support of what they are, the foundational goal for this. And so there's a base rate, but then in addition to that, there's a multiplier per student that's based on whether or not it's a rural campus and what the socioeconomic status is for that campus. So that's what gives you the variation in the range. And so our role then is to develop and implement that designation system, and Yvette's going to talk a little bit about what that's going to look like. It is quite a lengthy, it's a multi-year process that we're going to embark upon. And once we get to the point where we feel like we've got that well established, we will put our application in, and then we'll have to go through the approval process through TEA and Texas Tech. And the things that they're definitely looking for are validity and reliability, since there are so many dollars attached to it.
So as Ms. Gorham just mentioned, there are 3 levels of designation for the TIA, recognized, exemplary, and master. And so, as she just mentioned, we are going to have quite a bit of work to do in developing that designation program. So once teachers are designated on any of these levels, that designation will be added to their teaching certificate through SPEC, the State Board of Education Certification, and it's valid for 5 years. That designation will follow them. If they leave our district, that designation follows them to their new district. So, and that designation, even if you're not yet a part of the teacher incentive allotment, if you haven't been approved, you can still receive teachers that are coming to you with a designation. So you have to start thinking about a plan if we're gonna move forward with this, as to what that's gonna look like if we start receiving teachers with designations from other districts. One way to be designated automatically is if the teacher has a national board certification. And that's something that we just get on the national board website, and we can just look the teacher's name up and see if they do, if they come to tell us in their application they already have that. That's an automatic recognized designation for that teacher. So as far as the designation goes, there are going to be two criteria that we are going to be required to look at as far as data goes and creating a designation system. One of those is going to be teacher observation, and we already utilize t-tests in our district, so that will be more than likely what we will use for teacher data. And when we submit our application, we're going to have to show evidence that the data is valid and reliable. It's going to involve a big calibration piece into that, on campuses and also across the district. Another piece of data that we're probably look at is student performance data, and that's going to be decided upon by the district. What student growth measures do we want to look at? You could possibly look at SLO, student learning objectives, or there are some other options that we can look at. We just have to start, once we start investigating and getting a little bit further into it, we'll start making those decisions as far as what we're going to look at for student performance. We also have the option of looking at additional factors. We don't have to, but we could. Also include that and making a designation, and it could include, teachers that are mentors, looking at surveys for different teachers. And so finally, the compensation piece considerations. As Ms. Guar mentioned a little while ago, we have to use 90% of those TIA funds have to be used on teacher compensation on the campus where the designated teacher works. If they move to a new district, as I stated a few minutes ago, the money is going to follow them to that new district, regardless of, like I just said, if the district has a designation system in place or not. The only thing is that the allotment will be recalculated based on whether the school is rural and the socioeconomic need of that campus. So again, we're going to need to consider and develop a local plan on how to use the funds. And then every year we will have to complete an attestation verifying how we're using the funds and making sure that we're in compliance with how we're supposed to be spending the money. So as far as timeline, what Darlene and I have been working on probably about the last 3 or 4 weeks is engaging some stakeholders in this process. We do have a steering committee that we met with earlier this month, just to let them know about TIA, kind of a basic overview, something similar to the presentation tonight. And that included administrators, teachers, elementary and secondary level. We did have some community members, we had some parents, and then the team that we have here in the district, our task force, which is myself, Darlene, Dr. Fuller, Ms. Burns, Ms. Casper, Jennifer Casper, and John Fuller. And so we did meet as a task force last week just to kind of talk through some ideas. Our plan is to meet with our steering committee again next month. We did send out a thought exchange survey to just our administrators that conduct evaluations, just to get some feedback and thoughts on that. We'll be presenting that to the steering committee, get their feedback, and then we'll just kind of go from there as we're gathering information. And we did submit a letter of intent for COPD, where we have a lot of work to do before we're ready to submit an application. We had conversations as a task force with Mr. Toscano, and we're looking at pushing that to a later report just to make sure that once we submit the application, that the job is thorough and hopefully approved by TDA. So are there any questions?
Yes. So your presentation says that 90% of the funds that received must go to teacher compensation on the campus. It doesn't say that compensation goes to the teacher, but it goes to the campus. So that would make me believe then that if you had one of these teachers at a campus and they left, you would then have to restructure the compensation plan for that campus. If you spread that money out across 10 or 15 teachers, now because that one person left, you're gonna have to redo the compensation for everybody at that campus. Is that correct?
That would be correct now, but it is up to the district as to whether or not we want the compensation to go directly just to that teacher. So we can make a district decision as to that 90%, if they're a designated teacher, that salary is gonna go just to that teacher. Then that other 10% could possibly be redistributed amongst the campus or for anything else that we would, decide we wanted to use that other 10% for. But in looking at cohorts the cohort A that's already been approved, that money is directly going to the teachers that are the designated teacher on that campus, not necessarily spread out amongst.
The original language did, as I recall, specify the teacher. And this is kind of an evolution of it, I think, to create a little more flexibility for district to decide how they want to distribute the 10%. So it's created a little bit of confusion from what we had originally heard from the commissioner. At the end of the day, I think we all see that there's potential here, but it can be some sticky work. And so we decided to kind of slow down in the interest of really being comprehensive and inclusive of everybody that it could impact, and make sure that we're thoughtful that when we come to the board potentially with a recommendation or an application that we want to submit, that we feel like it's something that's viable, it's going to meet the intended, have the intended effect in our district, and that it's sustainable over time. So, we also think it's a good process to go through to rethink or reimagine the possibilities for how we distribute compensation. And it's part of House Bill 3, and House Bill 3 could be amended in the next session. We don't know. So there is a possibility that these funds won't even be available. So, which is another reason why we kind of feel like slowing down, we want to go through the process, we really want to think about it, we want to learn, we want to see what's possible, but we don't want to rely on it too quickly, only to have the rug pulled out from underneath us if something changes. So this is kind of we've initiated the work, we've assembled the teams, we're getting into it. We wanted the board to know that that's where we're at this time, and kind of our intentions are to slow down, but to keep the board abreast of kind of what we're learning along the way, and kind of see what unfolds at the agency level and legislative level.
I have a question. On the teacher designation slide where it says the recognized exemplary and master, is this allotted amount per year, school year?
Per school year, per teacher.
Per school year, per teacher.
There's another table that's pretty interesting. Well, there's a couple of pieces that we didn't include, but one is kind of a sliding scale based on how rural the school district is and how, to what degree is the demographics of students low socioeconomic. So it can range in each of those categories on anywhere in that continuum. And so what TEA intends to do is create a map of Texas, did electronically on their website, and every school in Texas is on that map. And I'm a teacher, let's say I've got a master teacher designation, I can hover over every school in Texas and know what my multiplier is, what my additional compensation would be if I were to teach in that school. And so, in a non-rural, non-low socioeconomic school, I might make $5,000. But I scroll over to the other side of town over here, and I might make $32,000. That's extreme. I mean, it's $12,500 to $32,000 in the master category. But that's kind of how it's designed. That's what the agency's intent is. So we'll see how that fits or works for us as we get along the way in this process.
Well, I think it's a great idea. We certainly always talk about not paying teachers enough. So this is an idea to take them, especially when they're experts in their field and they pursue their education. I think that that's a great thing to do, is to talk about compensating them all the time.
Right.
So I hope it stays.
So cohort A has been going on, I guess, a couple of years, because I know my friend over at ECISD is on her, I think, second or third year. So, yeah. So how does it work though? Like if the teacher does move to a new district, obviously the money is going to follow them, but if they don't have that program,
Yes,
how is it fair to pay that teacher the additional funding if they're not?
So fundamentally, so the money comes from TA.
Right.
So, if we don't have a TIA program, then we couldn't designate our teachers into one of the three categories. But a teacher, we could hire a teacher who's been designated from another district, and they'll fall right into our salary schedule based on their years of experience, and their service record. But then in addition to whatever they would get paid here for being a 15-year teacher, TEA is gonna send that additional compensation, and then based on our local discretion, how we distribute that 90% goes to the teacher, and the other 10% is determined by the district, how it's distributed. But yeah, I mean, whether we have a program or not, any district, any teacher with that designation, that TEA money falls.
So we really have to have a savings plan in place, even prior to us applying to be part of it, to have the potential to receive those funds. So we will need to have it designed and laid out for how we would pass this on.
So there's no limit as to how many teachers can be
No
designated?
limit.
It would seem fair or unfair, an individual is designated, leaves one district, goes to another one that doesn't have a program. It would be unfair for that individual to lose out because she moved, he or she moved. Of course, what was the reason they moved in the first place? But that's neither here nor there. The designation was there, they moved, they should be penalized in essence for moving.
So they'll continue to receive the funding. What they will do each year though is recalculate the amount. So that range within there, at the new campus that the teacher's working at, they'll come back with a snapshot day. They call it a winter snapshot. It's really like, I think, in January, February, where it's like that one day that we have on that campus, and then that's how they'll adjust.
Right.
Recalculate based on their formula.
That's fair, but the other part of the designation, I mean, the money traveling or not, like I say, it would be unfair for that individual to go through the designation and then to lose out because they chose to move from their family, for whatever reason that they moved.
And so the designation stays on their certificate for 5 years. And so for 5 years, they could theoretically, I'm a master teacher, I can shop around and see how much more money I could make for teaching the same thing. Potentially the same thing. There's nuances here. You've also learned that you can be designated in one district as a physics teacher and then go teach elementary PE and get the same, you qualify. So you carry that, it's not specific to what you're teaching necessarily. So doesn't matter how you earn what your teaching assignment is when you earn the designation goes with you regardless of your assignment anywhere else.
And it does factor into your
It's kind of nuanced and confusing, which is why, again, I want to slow down and really learn what its intent is, what we're able to adapt and what would make sense for us. And we may or may not land on something that the agency would approve, but we might land on something that could be a nice adjustment locally to the way that the board makes decisions about compensation distribution. So a lot of potential here again, and some of that potential could be with or without TEA's approval and subsequent funding.
I think it's great.
Dale, James, y'all have any questions? You're confused, everybody else, okay. Thank y'all so much.
That's good, thank you.
Y'all have a great break. Thank you.
Me or did who did the turn air conditioning off to the left? Because it's nice to come and see this guy. All right, let's move on to item D, personnel report. Mr. Scott.
Trustees, this month's report is on page 26 in your front packet. Very little activity. Please let me know if you'd like more information. Let's see this month's report. We have to give that to you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan, for turning down that air conditioning. There's a cooler in here. Item E, upcoming events, Mr. Scott.
Really briefly, in your November, December calendars, trustees, just wanted to point out that next week the district will be closed for the annual Thanksgiving holiday break. We'll resume on Tuesday, the 1st of December, as the Monday, the 30th is also a student and staff holiday. And then in December, our next regularly scheduled meeting is on December 15th at 6:30 p.m. And yes, sir, and I believe, Mr. Masco, you
We're going to schedule a special meeting on December 3rd at 5:30.
dinner will be provided.
To have a meeting with the demographic study group so we can go over the latest and greatest what's going on in the district.
Sir, so that'll be December 3rd then, at 5:30, get that on the calendar. And then the Christmas holiday break begins on the 20th and runs for 2 weeks through the end of December, and we'll be back the first week of January.
You want December 3rd, 5:30. Jan, did y'all get that special meeting, December 3rd? 5:30? Okay. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to the action agenda, and then we're gonna have a little change in the, I'm gonna pull an item from the consent agenda. It's gonna be item D. We're gonna move into item E. EC Foundation donation will be item E. Let's move on from that, and we'll go right into item A, Region 20 commitment, TCMPC TPEKS resource. That is tough. I have no idea what that means, but let's get on with it. I love teaching acronyms.
Yes.
No, the proposal.
Yes, sir. If she just changed.
Tell me, man.
All right, Mr. President, so this particular item, normally in June every year, which we did this year on the 18th, we bring our commitments for services that we are going to be procuring through the service center. And today, we do receive a grant, school improvement grant from Title I. The district received an additional $63,000 that could go towards serving support for campus coaching in the areas of reading, writing, math, and science. And so what we're bringing to you tonight is our recommendation to apply that $63,000 for campus coaching in said areas at Harmony, Highland Forest, Pecan Valley, in Sinclair. We'd be happy to answer any additional questions this time.
When you say campus coaching, what does that mean?
So that would be support for instruction, and instructional delivery for teachers in those particular content areas. So it's just on the ground, extra support to support the instructional leadership team. More hands on deck in the classroom with teachers, in planning with teachers, et cetera. Anything to add to that, Dr. Flora?
Yeah, it's on campus in classroom. So they're going to provide both face-to-face, so they'll be in classroom. They can do some coaching follow-up virtually as well as being on classroom. So we talked about either model depending on what's convenient for the campus and the teachers.
Dale, Jane, y'all have any questions? No? Awesome. All right, we're good.
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the commitment as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the commitment as presented. Do we have a motion?
No.
We have a motion from Mr. Victor Garza. Have a second from Monique Priestley. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item B, construction delivery method for security vessels, Highland Forest Elementary and Oak Crest Elementary. Mr. Scott?
Sir, Mr. President, trustees, we have a couple of construction-related items to present for your consideration this evening. And for those, I'd like to call Mr. Matt Morgan up from Hogan. The first of which we're bringing back to you tonight to move forward on in reference to our security vestibules that we'll be enhancing at Highland Forest and Oak Crest. Mr. Morgan?
Ms. Conlon, a little bit background about the security vestibules. The district received a grant from TEA to enhance safety and security for the district. One of the projects that we're considering or that we'd like to move forward with is hardening the entryways at Oak Crest and Highland Forest, which would bring them up to the level of the other elementaries that were renovated during the 2016 bond. With that being said, as per board policy, CV local, prior to the advertising for any construction project valued at or above $50,000, the district's board of trustees is to determine and approve the project delivery contract award method to be used for this project. Staff recommends board consideration of the construction project delivery contract award method of utilizing job order contracting, cooperative method of construction procurement, Texas Government Code 2269, to provide repairs, renovations, remediation, or construction services as a procurement process that has already been competitively bid. The reason why we're recommending this delivery method is we have a timeline for the grant to be completed. And because these are in the front entrances of the schools while school is going on, we wanted to make sure that we had a contractor that had experience working in our schools and working for us, and that we could coordinate with during the schedule to meet the timeline. We've got an initial pricing back from the contractor that we are considering, and it's actually just below pricing we received from George General Contractors who did the work at the other 4 elementaries. So we feel confident that we're getting a good value for the district. We're waiting on one more pricing, that is for access control, but they're getting it from a vendor that we've used in the past and are very pleased with the work that they perform. And so we feel confident that we'll get a good value for the district through this method. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Dale, Jane, y'all have any questions? No? That's good.
Do you think the timeline would look like on getting this work started and possibly completed, Matt?
Most of the legwork is done with conjunction with Carlos Constantino from LPA. There's the last sub for access control is meeting tomorrow. We could possibly be done by the time the kids, students return from Christmas break.
Mr. President, I recommend board. Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the construction project delivery contract award method utilizing job order contracting, cooperative method of construction procurement for security vestibules at Highland Forest Elementary and Oak Crest Elementary is presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the construction project delivery contract award method utilizing job order contracting, cooperative method of construction procurement for security vestibules at Highland Forest Elementary and Oak Crest Elementary. Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Dale Brazil and a second from Claudia Barrientos. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to item D, proposals for maintenance drainage project. Mr. Scott?
Yes, sir. Trustees, this is a project we've been working on for quite some time. This is a project behind our maintenance facility. We've had some drainage issues in the past that we've been able to manage. However, with our enhancements at the John Glenn campus, specifically on the facility, the property in the back of the facility, we constructed a marching pad, which is impervious cover. It's a blacktop marching pad for the band. That has exacerbated some of the drainage issues that we had experienced previously. Our neighbor behind that, our maintenance facility has been concerned about the drainage and its impact historically. And so in light of our recent project, we began to negotiate with the neighbor to see if we can solve the problem for ourselves, but also to remedy any future issues that the neighbor might have. And so Matt, if you wouldn't mind bringing the board up to speed on what we're presenting tonight.
Sir, it's been about a 2-year process, and so looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't believe it's in your electronic packet, but it should be in your hard packet, the bid tabulation. The district did receive 5 bids. 4 of them are pretty close aligned. One of them is definitely an outlier. So with that being said, the district requested proposals for the maintenance drainage project. The district received 5 proposals for this project and attached to the bid tab. After reviewing the bid with the assistance of the district engineer, C.S. Murray, the district recommends to award the bid to C3 Environmental Specialist for a base bid of $162,767, $7,500 in contingency allowance, and $16,500 for alternate 1, subject to final negotiations related to alternate 1. As you know, the district entered into an agreement with Joyce Munster to settle the issue related to the drainage of the district's property onto her land, including a pond that lies adjacent to the district property. As part of the settlement, the district agreed to pay only $10,000 towards the dredging of the pond and issue, and Ms. Munster would have the option to pay for the additional work done above $12,500. The breakout for alternate 1 is currently at a bid of $16,500. However, I've been assured by the engineer that the bid is subject to negotiation based on changing scope or time, which is legally permitted should the bid be over budget. Therefore, staff recommends board approval to allow the district staff to negotiate the scope of the work and the price of alternate 1. To attempt to meet the requirements of the agreement between the district and Joyce Munster, and facilitate performance of the settlement in the most cost-effective way possible for the district. And if agreement satisfactory to the district and Ms. Munster cannot be reached for the performance of alternate 1, to reject the alternate entirely, a contract for the base contract as bid. Also attached is the government code provided by our attorney that allows this to happen. It's a little bit unique situation, but it's a situation that we're in, and I feel confident, given the authority, we can come to a resolution to make all parties happy.
So I'm sure that was crystal clear. I've read it a few times and been in dialogue with Matt and our attorney. So just to kind of summarize, we've got the base bid, that work we need to do. There was some negotiation around whether the runoff, the drainage runoff impacted the pond on the property next door. And that's debatable. But we agreed that we felt like an allowance of $10,000 for that to be done was reasonable. They agreed to pay up to an additional $2,500. It came in at $16,500. So we're gonna accept that, but there has to be some conditions met before that work moves forward, because the district isn't willing to pay more than $10,000. So the first option is for the neighbors to allow us to negotiate the scope of work so that the cost is reduced to the $12,500, our $10,000 and their $2,500. Or they could agree to come back and pay the total difference, or say it's off the table altogether. Either way, but the bottom line is the base scope of work is going to move forward. We just had to put all this language in there to give us the latitude to negotiate what we're going to do about dredging the pond, if that makes sense. Anything to add to that?
Making tonight's decision, we're meeting with the contractor in Atlanta tomorrow to look at reduction of the scope of the work to meet the goals of the agreement.
Timeline for this all to get started, completion, potentially?
So if we can get us, because attorneys are involved, so those lower. We're expecting to award the bid tonight, which would trigger them to start getting their bonds and insurance together, which will take about a week. So we'll probably have a pre-construction meeting when we get back from the Thanksgiving break. And then, depending on weather, they could have it done within a couple weeks. Will say this company is significantly lower than some of the other bids. The other bids were typically general contractor. They're self-performing this work. The engineer did check out on some of the other projects of similar nature. One was for the city of Shirts. They were very pleased. And this company also did the land clearing at the St. Edward site for transitions. So we have worked with them in the past.
Anybody got any questions?
So the base is 162, and the alternate, we're gonna go, maximum that we would go would be 10 more. So it's not to 172 in change. And that would be our max, otherwise, this King's X, we just go back to the 162, if it doesn't pan out. Yes.
Dale, James, y'all have any questions? No? All right, I think we're good. Thank you, Matt.
All right, Mr. President, trustees, I recommend board approve the final rankings for the maintenance drainage project as recommended by staff, with C3 Environmental Specialties being the first ranked proposer. Authorize the superintendent or his district staff delegate to negotiate and execute a contract in accordance with the procedures set out in Texas Government Code Section 2269.254. Copy of that statute is attached. Including the negotiation of the scope of work and price for alternate number 1 to facilitate the necessary work required to comply with the Munster settlement. And if a sufficient agreement cannot be reached for alternate number 1, to reject alternate number 1 in its entirety.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the final rankings of the maintenance drainage project as recommended by the staff, with C3 environmental specialists being the first ranked proposal. Authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract in accordance with procedures set out in Texas Government Code Section 2269.254, including the negotiations of the scope of work and price for alternate number 1 to facilitate the necessary work required to comply with the Munster settlement, and if a sufficient agreement cannot be reached for alternate number 1, to reject alternate 1 in its entirety. Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Steve Bryan and a second from Mr. Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to item E, EC Foundation donation. Mr. Scott?
Sure, trustees, pursuant to policy CDC local, the board may accept any bequest or gift of money or property on behalf of the district that is valued at $5,000 or greater. At the August 20th board meeting, the East Central Foundation presented the district with a $130,000 donation, as well as an additional $5,000 from Barry Stevens, totaling $135,000. These two donations were to assist the district in technology purchases as determined by the district to support remote learners. Since both of these donations were above board policy, CDC local amount, the board must formally accept these two donations as an action. Be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. Or should you have a comment?
Yes, sir.
I mean, this was just something that really, that the foundation didn't have to do, but they sure came through in space for our kids. The technology department, I assume that these were purchases for hotspots and computers.
Yes, sir.
It really helped our distance learning. So kudos to the foundation, and if anybody's watching, next time the foundation needs something, jump in with both feet. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Scott?
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the East Central Foundation and Barry Stevens donations as presented.
We have a recommendation to approve the East Central Foundation and Barry Stevens donation. Do I have a motion? Have a motion from Claudia Barrientos. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Victor Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item F, reorganization of the board members, officers. Do I have a
President, I'd like to nominate the following slate of officers. John Massengale, President, Monique Presses, Vice President, Claudia Barrientos, Secretary.
That is John Massengale for president, VP Monique Priestess, and Secretary Claudia Barrientos. Do I have any other nominations? Move on to vote. All in favor of the slate of officers presented?
Aye.
All opposed? I guess motion carried. Oh, not motions.
Nominations.
No, we're good. Thank you. All right, everybody assume their positions. If you need to be moved, or you want to stay where you're at, or what?
I'm good.
You good? Before we close, I would like to, I just wanted to say something. Before we go on to move or close the consent agenda, I would like to personally thank Mr. Steve Bryant for his continuous service as an officer, and hopefully the next couple of years will be a lot better than, that's the wrong word to say, but anyway, I appreciate your service for all these years as officer of the Central Independent School District Board of Trustees. It's an amazing feat to have that many years of service in this type of environment. But you've done this district and this community very well. I do appreciate it. It's an honor to serve on this board with you along with these other trustees. And it's
Good pleasure. I'm not going any place for a while.
I'm very thankful for that. Trust me. All right. Move on to the consent agenda. Would anybody like to have anything pulled from the consent agenda?
No.
No? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Do I have a second? Second. Victor Garza, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Adjournment, motion. We're done. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Y'all all have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Stay safe, eat some turkey, enjoy your time off. Forget about school for a while. Thanks, Matt. Thank you for coming down and introducing me.
Yes, sir.